peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and the Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya, that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
And today, once again, I'm addressing you on the ongoing issues, COVID-related, but today I really just wanted to take this opportunity to reflect with you the state of our economy. And before I do so, I'd like to make a quick observation, because whenever we talk about our economy, as government, normally what we do is just bombard you with figures and statistics without a human face. Yet behind these figures are real men and women, children who are struggling. The hard-working farmer who mixes his sweat with the soil in order to feed his or her family, but also to feed our communities. The diligent mother who has a double role of nurturing her family while at the same time maintaining a full-time job. And also the aspiring and driven young people in our country who have hopes and dreams for a better tomorrow. But when we give you economic figures, you never really see the face of these ordinary Kenyans. And today, I want to paint a picture of these Kenyans. The coronavirus pandemic has and will continue to undermine our efforts to revitalize our economy for the unforeseeable future. Indeed, it is true, as I have said before, that the rate of infections may indeed surge upwards or fall if we fail to comply with the protocols issued by the Ministry of Health. It is my prayer that we shall see the rate of infection fall, because Kenyans will comply. But we must always recognize the possibility of an increase if we do not do that which is necessary. Indeed, as of this morning, I have been informed that we have cumulatively tested 57,650 samples, out of which 1,192 persons have tested positive for the coronavirus disease. And in the process, we have lost 50 of our fellow Kenyans who have fallen to this disease. Because also of the impact of this pandemic, it has also had a negative impact on our economy. And there are many Kenyans who have been stripped of their dignity, cannot feed their families or pay their rent. And many of these Kenyans find themselves in very vulnerable and difficult situations. And that is why, as a government, we have been trying to do everything we can within the resources available to see how we can support these vulnerable Kenyans. That is why every single week my administration has been dispatching a total of 250 million shillings to vulnerable families. Many may ask why we have chosen to directly send money to these vulnerable groups. And this has been motivated by two key reasons. One, in the past, if a family couldn't feed itself because of floods, famine, or other such natural calamities, we rushed previously to give them food aid. Take food in bags, rice, maize, oils. But then what we got to understand is that what happened was that government would get suppliers, we would give them the resources to buy the food, we would arrange the logistics of distributing the food to those in need. But unfortunately, with this method, what we have discovered over time is that we lost almost half of these resources that we gave to relief suppliers. We lost almost half of this to brokers and those who are organizing logistics. So therefore, very little of the resource actually reached the intended target groups. So therefore, we had to change this method by taking advantage of increased technology which is now available in Kenya. And we have now changed the mode of delivery and replaced it with one where money through M-Pesa is directly sent to families. And through this process, we have managed to bypass brokers and various cartels that used to dominate the sector. But also, which is also equally true, as a result of this, we have also managed to catalyze local economies through the injection of 250 million shillings each week through these families into local economies across the country. Money in the hands of a family also restores dignity, for it gives people the power to make economic choices in their local spaces and not depend on lining up waiting for food relief. And these choices, I strongly believe, catalyze and help us build the economy from the bottom up. Indeed, during these unprecedented times of coronavirus, we have to cushion our economy. And we must cushion our economy from below up, not from top down. The second recognition we have also made is the fact that our nation is largely youthful, with 70% of our population made up of young people. And whereas this gives us great hope, because a young population is indeed much more better equipped to fight coronavirus, but it is also worrying. Worrying because during a pandemic like the one we have, the sheer energy of our young population, as much as it will help us fight the virus, but we must also do everything we can to direct this energy so that it is not misdirected into misdeed. And this is why we must direct this youthful energy in a constructive manner. So therefore, as we fight this virus, as a government, we have started to harness the energy of our young people, engaging them in the National Hygiene Program that is more commonly now being referred to as Kazi Mtaani Initiative. Under this program, as a government, we expect to spend a total of 10 billion Kenya shillings, engaging our youth in restoring public hygiene standards, in urban civil works, and other public undertakings. Currently, during the trial period which we have been executing over the last few weeks, we have engaged a total of 26,000 young people. We now intend, hopefully with the passage of the budget that we have put before Parliament, to increase that number to 200,000 young men and women across our country. And also to make it sustainable in the post-coronavirus period. We want to regiment these young people into livelihood guilds, and these are small groups of young people with a purpose and a passion for their country. Working with county governments, we will look forward to finding ways to look for generating work for these groups, societies and circles that hopefully these young people will form. we are making this endeavor through an urban renewal program to upgrade and to modernize our towns and cities. We want our towns and cities to be clean. We want our towns and cities to be green. Indeed, if Singapore can do it, there is no reason why Kenya can also not do it. This COVID pandemic, fellow Kenyans, is not only a health crisis, but it is also fundamentally an economic crisis. Jobs have been lost, businesses have had to close, and the economy is generally on a go-slow. So therefore, to combat the effects of this downturn, my administration has had to take additional measures. Today, I am happy to announce the rolling out of my 8-point economic stimulus program, amounting to some 53.7 billion Kenya shillings. The injection of this money into the economy will stimulate growth and cushion families and companies as together we navigate our way out of the COVID-19 pandemic. The first element of this 8-point program will focus on infrastructure. Fellow Kenyans, I'm sure you are all aware of the damage that has been caused to our infrastructure as a result of the ongoing rains. And this has affected our country across the entire length of our borders. To address this challenge in the short term, as a government, we intend to rehabilitate damaged access roads, footbridges, and other public infrastructure. We have set aside a total of 5 billion Kenya shillings to hire local labor, our local young men and women across the country, to engage in this undertaking. We are convinced as a government that with the use of local labor and local construction materials, in line with our Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy, we will be able to stimulate and support micro and small businesses across the country. The second element of our stimulus program will be about education. We know that parents, and indeed our children across the country, are concerned about what the future holds for them. But I want to assure you that in the very near future, we shall be communicating after the extensive discussions that are ongoing between parent-teachers associations, with our teachers, with our school administrators. We will be able to come out to you and tell you what plans and programs we have for our education sector to ensure that our children are able to carry on with their education. But in the meantime, in our current budget, we have allocated an additional 6.5 billion shillings to the Ministry of Education. The purpose of this is to hire an additional 10,000 teachers and an additional 1,000 ICT interns to support our digital learning program. The program will also support the improvement of school infrastructure, including the acquisition of an additional 250,000 desks across the country, and these desks will be made by our local artisans across the country. The aim of this particular objective is to get thousands of our graduates off the bench and off the street into action, while at the same time supporting our local artisans, our local builders, and their businesses. The third element of our program will target our small and medium enterprises. During this COVID pandemic, the liquidity of these enterprises has been adversely affected. The stimulus program that we are proposing will deal with this in two ways. First and foremost, we have allocated Kenya shillings 10 billion to fast-track payment of outstanding VAT refunds and other pending payments. I'm also happy to note that just yesterday, the National Treasury released about 30 billion Kenya shillings towards the payment of pending bills in the road sector. In addition to this, we will inject a further Kenya shillings 3 billion as seed capital for the SME Credit Guarantee Scheme. The intention here being to provide affordable credit to our small and micro enterprises. And to do so in an efficient and structured manner, borrowing from the professional standards and practices of the private sector credit arrangements. Health is our fourth target of our 8-point stimulus program. My administration intends to hire another 5,000 healthcare workers with diploma or certificate level qualification for a period of 1 year. This will not only enhance our COVID-19 response capability, but also enhance the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Coverage Program. Further, the stimulus program will set aside a further 1.7 billion shillings for the expansion of bed capacity in our public hospitals. And here, I encourage our Ministry of Health to utilize our Juakali sector in this endeavor. Let us make and build these beds that we shall supply here locally so that that money circulates in and amongst our people. Similarly, resources will be pumped into our medical research facilities to enhance their research capacity, which is critical to generate new innovations in the medical field, new innovations that will not only help us combat COVID-19, but also other diseases and afflictions that may face our people now and into the future. But with the extra resources, these facilities will also undergo some level of reform to optimize their performance. So, fellow Kenyans, you will be hearing of changes in the sector of research to ensure that those who are going to be charged with that responsibility and with the resources being given are up to the task of meeting the desire and objectives not just of government, but of the people of Kenya. I am persuaded that these reforms will upscale our medical research facilities to a standard that can indeed rival any in the rest of the world. The fifth element of our stimulus program will focus on agriculture. My administration has prioritized Kenya shillings 3 billion for the supply of farm inputs through e-vouchers, targeting some 200,000 small-scale farmers initially. This is meant to cushion farmers from the effects of adverse weather and to secure food supply chains in the post-COVID-19 period and into the future. Further, under this program, we also have allocated a further Kenya shillings 1.5 billion that will be set aside to assist our horticultural and flower producers to continue accessing international markets in this period where we have a shortage of flights into and out of our country. These interventions will support the sustenance of farming communities and provide continued gainful employment for many thousands of workers in our breadbasket areas. Fellow Kenyans, tourism is our sixth target area. This sector is the one that has suffered most dramatically because of restricted movements and the termination, as I have just said, of international flights.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi in the political command center of Punchline Africa. It's myself speaking, bringing this program, the host of this show, and the rest will be panelists who will ask questions. I will also fire questions to the panel, which is headed by none other than Miriam Ogutu in the headquarters of Punchline Africa Television in Nairobi. Good morning, Miriam.
A very good morning to you, Doctor.
This show is Africa Business Show. It's a show we want to look at the impact of COVID-19 on the economy of Africa. It's one of our flagship shows that we show how business can be conducted, the ethics, investment being brought into Kenya and Africa. Our case study today is Kenya. How much money has been pumped into the economy to boost the economy, to boost the COVID operations, and to show that the economy from going to recession. We want to look at these factors, all of us. In the bottom corner on the left-hand side is our investigative journalist, one of our friends, one colleagues, Daniel Wesonga.
Yes, good morning, Doctor, and my fellow panelists.
In the right corner below me is one of our Swahili men, a man who handles Radio Punchline Africa, with his music loaded throughout 24 hours, 7 days a week. He is on the microphone. If you want any number, whenever you are in Africa, in Kismayo, in Mogadishu, talk to us in Cairo, in South Africa, Johannesburg. Don't let the lockdown bore you. We have some business to do here, because business is our business. Africa is part of our business. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with an introduction.
Good morning.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yes. Let's start with Miriam giving us...
Good morning, yes.
Let's start with Miriam giving us factual figures.
All
what
right.
he has, what information he has on this subject.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor. And as you mentioned there, very rightfully, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Saturday, unveiled a stimulus package, 54 billion Kenya shillings to be precise, that will go through President Uhuru's plan. And now, faced with an economy battered with coronavirus, President opens the purse wide in stimulus package aimed at saving and creating hundreds of thousands of jobs in manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, SME, and Juakali sectors. So we look at perhaps the 8th points that President Uhuru Kenyatta, this money will go to, and 5 billion Kenya shillings will go to hire local labor for rehabilitation of roads. 13 billion Kenya shillings will go to tax refunds, pay bills and credit guarantees, and then another 4.5 billion Kenya shillings will go to farm inputs and produce marketing abroad, and 2.3 billion Kenya shillings water plans, control of floods and greening plan, and 6.5 billion Kenya shillings hiring of teachers and equipping of schools. 5 billion Kenya shillings will go to hiring of medics and expansion of capacity, and 4 billion Kenya shillings soft loans to tourism players and conservancies. 600 million Kenya shillings to buy 400 locally assembled vehicles. So we see, even in the middle of a crisis, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government is trying to find ways in which Kenyans can be cushioned in these very strong times where the economy right now is just balancing in a very delicate manner, and not just here in Kenya, but across Africa. Doctor, this stimulus package that President Uhuru Kenyatta unveiled on Saturday, will it go a long way in easing up the lives of Kenyans who will benefit from this?
Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you are in Africa and Kenya. That is the question Miriam has posed. Will this go a long way? And my panelists first start with you, Daniel. How far will this money go to ease the economy, the hardships, the vulnerable people in the community, the security? Don't forget that as much as we are talking about COVID, you have seen one of the factors in our previous discussion.
Yes.
COVID has brought another element of security for women and children under this COVID-19. We have a problem in Africa that we must allocate some money to security social agencies that can go around to find out that there is no havoc done on the families. Families are going to break down. Families are stressed. Do you agree with the package that the president put forward? Lesonga.
Yes, I absolutely agree with the package that the president put forward. Of course, when you look at the 8 key sectors that he touched, those are the lifeblood of our economy. Remember, more than 60% of our people work in the informal sector. And of course, Africa as a continent is expected to trigger the first recession in sub-Saharan Africa in 25 years, with a shock to many households, a majority of which live in the informal sector. So in a region where roughly 8 out of 10 people are engaged in low income wages of informal employment, and often just making ends meet, their livelihoods, incomes, and as well as their well-being of many households. This comes up as a big boost to the economy, and just as a mitigative measure to ensure that every citizen has a coin that jingles in their pockets. So, and when you look at it also, we do have sickness that will deprive individuals of their earnings and can lead to impoverishment out of pocket payments for treatments. And the effect is already felt more widely across the population. And of course, social distancing has curtailed a lot of economic activity. The supply chain has already been disrupted, and the prices and the remittances from abroad have all dried up. But most importantly, in the Kenyan and mostly African perspective, it is the informal sector workers and self-employed rather in the cities, like here in Nairobi, the market vendors. These are the people who are very hard hit, and you saw the president in his economic measure. He really looked into such kind of such kind of sections of the economy to be really to safeguard these particular part of the society. So I totally agree. It's going to have quite a positive impact on many families in the city.
So you agree that the president's package came at the right time when the Kenyans needed a boost in their economy, in their welfare, in the industries, in education, in structure. Are we looking at the moment, for example, there is no infrastructure that is operating normally now. Planes are grounded, railway is grounded. We are supposed to pay back loans on this road, on these projects. Airports, we are accumulating debts where we used to have a contract with parking slots in those cities. I don't think all countries have cancelled that since the plane is not coming, you can't pay. Look at the impact on the economy of the main economy earners, hotels. People picked up loans. Will this money be enough to inject a new blood of rebranding Kenya? What can be done to rebrand Kenya? Wait, what has happened to rebrand Kenya? Patrick, I want to see whether there are any things where the government is injected money to rebrand Kenya. For you to convince a tourist from the United States to fly.
And of course, Of course, you agree with me that nearly all the sectors of the economy have been affected with the effect from transport, aviation, hospitality, manufacturing, trade, and even agriculture. Those are the sectors that have been affected, of which all of them. And so looking at the economic stimulus package that was unveiled on Saturday by President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is going to cushion these areas, bearing in mind that right now we have registered more than 500,000 people who have lost jobs in most of the sectors, especially in most of the sectors, especially
all right, we seem to be having a problem. Yes.
So looking at, I think, are you getting each other? So to convince people from elsewhere or everywhere who might be intending maybe to come to Kenya, especially in the hospitality industry, or is just to show them that the economy is going to be revived and come back or go back to its initial state that President Uhuru Kenyatta intended. So, and of course, bearing in mind that about 58.1% of Kenyans in most of these sectors had been laid off from their jobs because maybe either production was low or maybe there was nothing to produce. So the number of them were laid off because of that. So by reviving the economy through the economic stimulus package, it will mean that every sector will be revived. Every sector that had perhaps been on the verge of dying will come back to normal. So
yes,
just to advise anybody who wanted perhaps to travel to Kenya, that now we have
can you get us, Patrick?
Yes.
Yes, we seem to be having a problem with your signal there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Patrick. Your signal will be rectified.
Yes. Will
be brought back to normal. But let's continue, Miriam.
Yes, and Doctor, you've mentioned there about rebranding Kenyan tourism because if we were to have tourists back in the country, then we need the rebranding, and maybe that's why all these monies that has been set aside for the tourism sector and the tourism sector through that economic stimulus package, President Uhuru Kenyatta allocated it 4 billion Kenya shillings because to this end the government plans to provide soft loans to hotels and related establishments. I'm hoping that the related establishments are those that will concern themselves with rebranding the country, so that we're able to attract more people to come to our country, because tourism is one of the leading, foreign exchange for us in the country, and one of the leading sector that, that supports our GDP here. So yes, I'm hoping that in rebranding those other sectors that work together in the Ministry of Tourism, a rebranding of Kenya will be one of the key things that they shall look at.
First of all, let me make it very clear. We need to do a very, 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 very heavy work. Believe me or not, it is not going easy. For you to convince a tourist from American home to come, and a tourist from the American home to come to Nairobi to see the animals in Mara, we have to rechange, we have to diversify, we have to find new ways, electronic, ICT related. What is magical? What is magical about Egypt and which is not magical about Kenya? What is magical that islands of Sicily, of Malta will offer. Seychelles, Mauritius, Madagascar. We have several competitors. South Africa, Krugerberg. What are the incentives in those Krugerberg which we don't have in Kenya that can pull a tourist to come all the way from United States to visit Mara instead of visiting Krugerberg?
Another country.
Yes.
So these are some of the things, Miriam, when we talk of rebranding,
Yes,
we are not going to be a walk in the park.
But
we have several countries worldwide that have all landmarks. We are lucky that Kenya has landmarks. One of the landmarks is we have one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Mara crossing of those animals. We have also the Rift Valley. People come here to see what goes on in Mara. But if you're going to prepare buffet the way we used to prepare buffet, how many people are going to eat buffet? How many people do we accommodate in the hotel at a go? The restaurants want to be the same. How do we rebrand our restaurants? How are you going to seat people in a restaurant, yet you need money? The costs are higher. You have to limit the number of people coming to your hotel. You have to limit the number of people flying on your plane. How are we going to remove the middle seat? You know now, some planes you have to conquer to knock the middle. You can't sit together.
And I've seen that happening in the CBDs. In a lot of restaurants right now, they're really trying to social distance, and they've placed their furniture in a way that allows social distancing. The few restaurants that have met that requirement by the Ministry of Health and indeed the government of Kenya. And we've seen a few of them open, and they're really adhering to some of these measures. So I'm just hoping that we have public health officials who are walking around in these public establishments to ensure that indeed they're not just doing that for a couple of hours or a couple of days, and then they'll go back to their old ways. We need a constant monitoring of that situation to ensure that Kenyans, when we visit these places, our lives are not endangered, the people who serve us are healthy, and so that we're able to get on with our lives. Because, Doctor, as we have established, and also World Health Organization has said that COVID-19 is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we have to now devise ways to change our normal, to work around it, and to live around it. And in so doing, observing safety measures is very key so that we are able to curb the spread of this. And Doctor, speaking about rebranding, of course, and you mentioned how can we convince a family all the way from the United States to come here to Kenya, and after this COVID-19 has been brought under control. Well, first of all, Kenya has secured its place in the world of tourism and attracting tourism in this country. And one of my neighbors works in this hospitality industry. Unfortunately, the hotel that he was working in, one of the 5-star hotels in the city, was closed down because of COVID-19. But he was telling me that just before COVID-19 came, Kenya was at its peak in terms of attracting tourism. So the industry was doing very well. Remember the few incidences of terrorism and all that really shocked the hospitality industry a bit, but now it had come up and it was doing very well before COVID-19 hits. And so that tells you that Kenya already has a place there when it comes to securing its place in terms of tourist destination. So we don't have to worry about that much, because the good news is COVID-19 did not emanate from Kenya. We did not create it, so it is affecting them as much as it is affecting us. So I don't think they'll use that against us. And also, of course, the migration of the wildebeest and all that, that is also one of the key highlights when visitors visit the country at around August, September, because that is when that really happens before they go to the other side in Tanzania. And so rebranding, now we have to relook at ourselves, and of course, and I think that is something that every other country that is a tourist destination will have to work through. How do they rebrand, and how particularly do we rebrand here in Kenya? But we already have secured a place there, so we just need to make sure that we rebrand, as you have said there.
Rebranding is a key. We must change the product. One of the things that we must change is the conventional way of receiving tourists. Things are going to change after COVID-19. We might need ambassadors to go into those countries to make road trips, road shows, to market our countries. We might need physical road shows. We might need more exhibitions. Let's expand our knowledge, stick to tourism sector. And we believe the Minister of Tourism, who is a very able man, is watching our show. We need e-marketing. We need to start marketing Kenya on national and international platforms. We need not to advertise only on, because there is no confidence. People have lost confidence in everything, in travel, in planes. Have you imagined how people are going to climb the first flight out of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport? How have you seen the first passengers, the first crew, the first captain to fly out? What are the costs involved? If you are flying a Boeing 778 into London, you need to adjust where they were sleeping. You need to change the cars that was picking them. You need to give them PPEs. We don't know how these ladies will look on a plane. Will the plane turn into a hospital? That when the girls who are serving us on the plane walking through the cabin, how will they be protected? Because travel is beauty. Beauty is travel. Those two things, Miriam knows them. That you must be beautiful in order to be an anchor. You must be knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable, yes. Beauty is just an added, but I don't think it's the the basic requirement.
So Miriam, later on, let's
yes.
there.
I want to believe I'm here because of what I have over here.
No, you must
yes.
also be beautiful.
That is an added advantage.
Brain, yes. But you might not be beautiful to be on a machine.
Yes, you must be camera friendly. Yes.
People, when you are, no, wait, let's not argue about this, please. When you are selecting your anchor, you look at the beauty, you look at the brain. She does the interview, then she comes on the screen, she charges the crowd. That is one of the qualities maybe Miriam doesn't know, but the anchors are selected because of the charming approach. You can't bring an anchor who is going to look like there's a ceremony for burial on the television, as if there is a burial. Who will employ you in Sky News? Who will employ you in BBC? Who will employ you in Al Jazeera? You must be lovely. You must deliver information at the same time. Also, be sense of humor. So we must now look ahead. How is Africa going to fly its first plane with their crew? Will they be in PP, what are they called? PPs. Those protective clothes. How will they bring our food? How will you eat that food? Miriam, how will you eat that food? How are you prepared to eat the food on the plane? Tourists coming into Kenya will ask those questions. So each department, each plane, each Kenyan must go out to sell his Remember, there is Emirates that was now already eating part of our space. When you travel in Emirates from Nairobi to Dubai, you think that the journey should not end. You look down when it is taking off. The business class is well catered for. This is going to change. If you have a plane which looks like the old Stone Age, you might not have a passenger coming in. So this airline is going to buy new planes in order to attract new customers to come on board. That is all Africa business. That is all affecting Africa, Jermaine. We should think about those. Think outside the box. Miriam, think, Patrick, my panel, and Daniel. Look at the things. For example, you used to take your child to swim in Intercontinental every Sunday. Will you take your child again? Will you take your child to swim? So who is losing? You and the hotel. So how will these hotels sustain themselves? That is why President Uhuru Kenyatta brought this package that cushioned them for the time being while we are doing this rebranding. Cushion the industry. Some industries, people are not going to go back and start manufacturing. You know that, Daniel. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And also, yes, and also looking at it, Doc, you see that Mauritania, Kenya, and Ethiopia have always been lauded for having a response program that can expand when triggered by droughts. You know, Kenya has, in the recent past, it has been faced by instances of hunger and droughts. So we do have that program, and in this program is where food markets stop functioning. And governments, when they stop functioning, rather, the governments can consider to redirect food support instead of cash transfers. So I absolutely agree with you that indeed these measures need to be taken into place, and African policymakers too can also leverage on social protection programs and have innovation that will respond appropriately to the COVID-19 shock. So from my perspective, I think to help households avoid going hungry or selling their livelihood assets, protect their human capital while protecting stay-at-home order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in urban and rural areas will be a great move, because as Miriam has said, this pandemic is going to be around for quite some time, and by putting cash into poor people's pockets, making sure that there's social protection can help sustain local economic services like financial literacy, micro-business development, life skill training, and coaching that can support households and workers in return to livelihood activities and jobs, and thereby accelerate the wide economic recovery. So when you look at the president's plan, there is that money that has been allocated to SMEs, and if I'm not wrong, it's among the biggest chunk that has gone to that program. So it's something laudable, and of course, I must stress on your point of coming up with innovative ways of making sure that we sustain our tourism and hotel industries. That has been for so long been our backbone as a country. So very, very valid points there, Dr. Masanga. I hope those who are concerned with the various ministries are watching this program.
And,
yes.
Maybe if I may add on something here, we remember that the tourism sector, which contributed approximately 1.3% to Kenya's GDP by 2019, has been hard hit, and therefore requires to be uplifted. And therefore, the President Uhuru Kenyatta's economic package towards that particular industry will help the industry to grow, because it has actually employed many people. Look at the transport sector, which has employed more than 90,600 people. Those have been affected following the restrictions of movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kuala, and Kilifi by the announcement of the president. So you'll also agree with me that there are people who are running businesses in this transport sector, maybe with the truckers or trucks that normally transport goods from across East Africa, for example, from Uganda to Kenya here in Mombasa to the port. So all those have been affected. So when President Kenyatta comes up with such a package, automatically it will push on the industry. And now coming back to the tourism sector, you find that for us to again win the trust of these tourists, it will actually require us to rebrand the industry the way you have talked it earlier on. But what will happen? The first thing, if actually the number of cases that will be reported at least daily should have reduced. The number of deaths from coronavirus should have reduced before winning the trust of these tourists who are intended to come to Kenya. And so perhaps that can take about 2 weeks or 14 days of not reporting any new cases or slowing of the cases. When we go to the hotel industry, also the spacing should be considered as much as maybe this. Yes,
we have seen the spacing. We have already, thank you very much, Patrick. We saw the spacing. Apart from spacing, what else, Patrick, can come out? Forget, we all know the spacing is needed. What are the other difficulties that hotels are going to receive to have? Mention some of them extra. Let's think outside the box. What are other things? The workers, how are they affected? The families, how are they affected? The burning power, the shifts. We should always think like that. The shifts. Yes. How are you going to plan your shifts? I am talking, look at ourselves. We are very few people in Banjara, but we have planned our way out. Our friends are working from their homes. Some are laying this, bringing in quite a lot of material. Researchers, correspondents, we have them. We have spaced ourselves. We work. I used to be with Miriam on a daily basis, closer there. Now I've been sent away. These are the effects. How much money do we spend, for example, on satellite? With the satellite rates go up, it could be. Because up in Berlin or France or Britain, where these satellites are stationed, they have reduced the workers, but they need to pay the same service. So these are the things we are going to have a problem. Visas, immigration, where will you go? Who will accept to quarantine? You are coming for holiday. Then you have only 2 days, 2 weeks from your employee or your employer. Then you arrive in Kenya, they put you under quarantine. 14 weeks are finished, you haven't seen Mara. You know, these are things that we are talking about. And that is, I believe, the panel understands what I'm talking about. And those watching outside, if you have any contribution towards how we can change our business in Africa and Kenya, call us on +254 795 638 145 Nairobi, Kenya.
Nairobi, Kenya. And Doctor, just adding on, thinking outside the box, I think there's a time, this show that I really, really love watching on CNN called Business Traveler, and I saw the host, Richard Quest, was in Kenya, and watching that, this could be one of the things, or one of the ways that the government of Kenya would leverage in terms of, once this COVID-19 is under control, in attracting more tourists back to the country, because we know the white people, majority of the time, if they see something by their own, they are more likely to believe and have confidence in. So I saw that show when Richard Quest came to Kenya, and he was just looking at the Kenyan tourism and all that, visiting all these places, and it was being documented. And CNN is a huge platform, and so many people are able to watch it. And I just went to see it. I was curious, and I went during when the show was airing and see how people are reacting in real time. So these are just some of the ways, or some of the outside thinking of the box, that perhaps the government of Kenya and the Ministry of Tourism could use in terms of when you're looking at to rebrand Kenya and to attract more tourists back into the country. So we could use that to leverage, actually, and just, perhaps invite some of those and have some of those things like that back into the country after the COVID-19 is over. We could make a kill in some of those ways.
Thank you very much, Miriam. On top of that, before I come to Daniel and Patrick, yesterday we had 60 miles of trailers packed at Malaba, from Malaba up to Eldoret.
For the last 1 week, I believe. Yes.
Yes. These are the things we want to discuss here. You have goods, you want to sell goods in Kampala, perishable goods that need to be delivered in Nairobi, carrots, onions. Tanzania has lost his horticulture flowers. The industry is gone. Nobody is buying them because the border is closed. Those are the problems we are looking for. You have goods, you supply Kampala with goods twice in a week. Some of you have seen lorries that are overloaded, as if they are carrying something, taking goods to Kampala. Sorry. Now this lorry stayed here for a week. What is the impact on the economy of Kenya and the Uganda? Daniel.
Yes, of course. This you have to backtrack somehow and go back to the farmers, the people who are producing these kind of fruits, vegetables, and all that. And these are perishable goods. So when you see trucks lining up at Malaba border, and they are able to, so they're unable to cross the border, and maybe perhaps it comes to your mind that these people are facing a lot of damages because their produce cannot, these are perishable goods that cannot maybe be preserved for quite a longer time, and these particular trucks do not have refrigeration facilities. So these are massive loss, first of all, to the farmer. It's a massive loss to the owners of the trucks, because right now, most people are very, very pessimistic about conducting business, because everything seems to be low and nothing seems to work. And thirdly, it has a very, very serious implications on the economy of the country, because Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, these are countries that perceive agriculture as the backbone of their economy. So when we are not selling our agricultural products to our neighbors, to the countries in the Middle East, to the countries in Europe, then our foreign exchange balance sheet does not add up. We are really trading on a negative balance sheet. And of course, it is expected that for the very first time, we're going to have a recession in the near future, in post-COVID times. So that is my perspective.
And just to add on what you just said there, Daniel. I watched that, and I've been watching that story from the Kenya-Uganda border there in Malaba, and I was watching now some of the truck drivers who were transporting these trucks and who were part of the trade chain, lamenting and just giving reasons as to why what is happening. Some of them have been stuck there for 4 days, 5 days, and imagine they're carrying perishable goods into and out of, Uganda and Kenya. So my immediate, reaction to that was the government of Kenya and the government of Uganda needs to engage ASP. And I saw our minister, or CS for transport, Mr. Macharia, going there and trying to find out what really is the problem. And the truck drivers from Kenya were saying, when they cross over to Uganda side, they get harassed. Once they take the test, they're told to wait 48 days inside their trucks, and then they go back, 48 hours, and then they go back, and then they're told the tests have disappeared, so they have to take it again. So they look like they're being frustrated in that other side. And, that is something that should not be happening. So I saw the ministry, the CS for transport, take on that. So I was just hoping that the government of Kenya and Uganda will engage to ensure that this problem is solved, the same way the problem between the Kenya and Tanzania border has been taken care of. And now we see the two governments as two sides cooperating. So we need to see the same, because when you see all that, you're not just looking at trucks, loads and loads of trucks there. Those are money, those are investment, people's money, people's jobs are at line right now. Because those truck drivers, so many of them have been employed. The farmers who farm and till and now who sell these things, they're hoping that after 4 days, somebody will come and buy their produce again to be taken. But now if the ones that they produced a couple of days ago are still stuck at the borders and perhaps will get there perished. So it's a host of things that get affected when things like this happen, and even the countries are losing on their revenue, I believe. So it's a lot, and it's a lot at stake. It's not just the number of tens of hundreds of trucks stuck in a border. What ripple effect does something like this have? So the government of Kenya and the government of Uganda must engage and see what is the problem and how can we solve it, so that we're able to move forward, because a lot is at stake when we continue like that. And I saw that the government of Kenya was there to listen and address. So I'm hoping that in the next couple of days, this should be sorted out.
Yes, and Miriam, also, when you look at it also, we do have traders also, small scale, the SMEs in Uganda or maybe Rwanda, where those particular fruits, vegetables, and other commodities were heading to. These are people who depend maybe on selling that particular kind of supply to earn their daily bread. So when you see the trucks stuck at the Kenya-Ugandan border, you know that someone somewhere in Uganda, someone somewhere in DR Congo, someone somewhere in South Sudan is not doing business, is run out of stock, and therefore they are not able to earn a living. So really tough times, and I totally agree with you that the governments, the officials of the governments, the two governments need to come together to ensure that they put up measures like the screening, the rapid screening that should be done to the truck drivers, so that they ensure that these goods are able to move in smoothly without jeopardizing the measures that have been put in place to avoid the spread of the virus. So it's really a timely thing that should be done at this moment.
And Sean, if I may just comment on that. Also, we saw the other day there was a kind of a hitch and a disagreement between the Kenya and Tanzania along the Kenya and Tanzania border. That's Namanga, where Tanzanian truck drivers were complaining that the Kenyan tests were not accurate. But the case was actually solved just immediately, and that case should also be done. The style that case was solved by the diplomats from both sides, Kenya and Tanzania, should also be applied to Uganda, because it had not been applied earlier on. But when you're talking about financial markets, we know very well that this is also the sector that has majorly been hit in many countries. Because you remember, the moment China reported cases of coronavirus, that is when even Kenya, the imports had reduced even around Kamkunji. If you have been going to Kamkunji, people in Kamkunji started having a very big hitch. They had a very big problem. They could not even receive their goods from China. They could not sell their goods. Maybe only those who had kept some or restored some are those who had to go on with their business. But most of the businesses in Kamkuji, maybe they may not be speaking right now, but they were affected. And we may have a long way to go after this recession. And now that China is opening up the way you have heard, of course, we are not so sure if actually they have opened up to that extent. We trust that all shall be well and people start importing goods and continue with their business as usual. And then I'll also try to comment on the horticultural industry. You saw the other day President Uhuru Kenyatta sending flowers to UK, and I think everybody here on the panel saw that. Some people were lamenting, why this? Everywhere in the social media, why send the flowers in UK while our people here are not receiving any flowers, our health workers? No, the president later on told Kenyans that this is a way of building brotherhood. It's a way of building brotherhood whereby at least one day the UK will remember that Kenya remembered them during when they had a problem or during the pandemic, and therefore they will be the first people to be considered during the time when they will want to buy flowers from Kenya. That is the issue. It is the time now to cooperate. With as much as every country, everybody is having a problem, it is high time that we cooperate in building diplomacy and also cooperating in terms of building our country and the economy at large. Let us try to lift each other's economy in terms of receiving their goods, in terms of selling back to those other countries.
All
yes.
right. Thank you very much, Doctor. All right. I'm not sure if he can doctor there, but also something else has come out. You know, the effect of COVID-19 on some of the economies here in Africa. And in the morning, we were looking at domestic violence as one of the key things now that has come up after this COVID-19, and it has become its own pandemic. It's called the shadow pandemic. That is according to the United Nations there, and they're saying that the root cause of course, domestic violence outside of power and control, there is the looming unemployment, inability to provide for families, and economic uncertainty that has added an extra strain of pressure for many families. And in advent, outcome is in loss of control, especially to heads of family, like the men who I think a lot of men pride themselves when they're able to take care of their families. So a lot of them have been affected due to now the high rate of loss of jobs, and so they're not able to provide for their families as they used to there before. And that they equate that to loss of control in their home. So that has brought in a lot of problems there. So we've seen the President Uhuru Kenyatta trying to caution and coming up with ways in which money can still get into people's pockets there. So now can we expect to see, perhaps a decrease in the rate of, the gender-based violence we've been seeing, and the violence we've been seeing coming from the homes, which has gone really up, and it is a cause for concern.
First of all, Miriam, yes, I agree totally with what you have said. When you opened up, I was not online. I heard your statement.
Yes.
But now, looking at the African business, we want to shift from what are the obstacles. One of the obstacles, as we come to the end of the show, is the repayment of these loans. We can't leave this program without talking.
Oh, yes, we have
what best way this country, Kenya, will repay this money?
Or not pay, Doctor.
Or pay or not pay. And we want to be very honest to tell our friends who gave us the money, the time has come for you also to look at our eyes, we look at your eyes. If they are small, let's open them wide. We don't have the money. Time has come for Africa to stand up and say the truth. Don't tell a lie that you have money. Africa does not have the money. We are not going to kill people to pay debts. Time has come for us in Africa business. We mean business. If it is business you entered in, it has got damages. China entered a business with damages. Thank you, you have given us the railway. Thank you, it is here, but it's not functioning. We need now measures that will be put in place to cushion us as we look for the money to pay you. Even if you open this railway, it will take another 5 years for the railway to recapture the profit it was making. Those are hard facts. Let's put them on the table. Those who will listen to this YouTube, because our message is also on YouTube, let them think about what we are talking about today. We are going in history. Let's not beat about the bush. There's no money to pay, and it's not coming. So let's prepare the Chinese ambassador in Nairobi to tell his country to start giving us concessions on how we shall pay, when we shall pay, what we should pay, how it will be delivered, structured. Shall we do barter trade? China wants timber. China wants mahogany. Can we do barter trade? Finish it. These are some of the things that I wanted us to generate. And the next week, Punchline on Wednesday, we'll host an e-conference with Songa and Miriam and the e-conference. We shall have over 40 people with a panel. E-conference, Miriam, all of us, we shall be here discussing. I'm organizing that conference on here so that the people, question will be put anywhere in Africa, from Cameroon, Amazonia. You say your view. Open up that chat and tell us, come in and tell us, how will you pay China? Because if we don't solve this problem now, do you know where we are heading? Do you know the men who went to Wuhan to build the factory and hurriedly left, who now want us to buy the vaccine? You know what they are going to do? They will bring this other hand and give Boniface Mwangi money, give Ichungwa money, give Mulukomoni money, give Mutunga money, give David Ndii money. Have you seen the men? Jonjo Muwe money. Now is the time to find solution to stop some of those things. If you don't stop those things, you know, a man called George Soros is here to confuse us. A bad economy is good as a foreign country. Am I wrong? If the economy is bad, the country collapses. Some forces will come in to say, now you see, we have no food, we have no imports, we have no tourists, our hotels are gone down, this government is very bad. Poo-poo, we are looking at that. That's why we're discussing these programs. Let nobody think we just talk for 1 hour. We are discussing them because they are going to happen, Jermaine. If people don't have employment, If Miriam's brother, sister, friend who was employed in a hotel does not go back to employment,
He went to the
he will go
village.
back. He will go back to theft. 7 of them will go to thief, to break windows, to break shops, to break people's houses. Murder rate will arise. Domestic violence will go on high. These are the things that we need to talk about. In less than 10 minutes, let's summarize them. I begin with Mr. Patrick. Just say your points.
Yeah. And yeah, basically even before.
Then Wesonga.
Yes.
And then Miriam, you take it over. From there.
Before I go on, of course, China should not also forget that after the eruption of this disease in their country, in Wuhan, they also complained of the economic plunge down of their country, of course, in their country, in various sectors of financial markets, financial sector, like insurance sectors also, like wholesale and retail sectors. All those sectors were affected. They should not have, yes.
I want you to learn this. They know it, but they don't care. They lend you their money. So
we'll have...
don't think that China is going to say, I'm waiting. China is not going to sit there to say, okay, COVID-19 came from Wuhan, so we forget about all that money. Give me the exact answers, and that is, what do we do?
So what you can do, we can be paying them just small, not the amount we used to pay them earlier. We pay them because when somebody has your money.
We renegotiate.
Yes. So
we renegotiate our payments.
We renegotiate our payments and be paying slowly, even if it is 10 shillings, until we finish. Just like someone can have your debt, your money.
Out of 200 billion. Yeah, Patrick.
Even if we pay for 10 years or 20 years, until we finish, because
for 20 years you want China money. Anyway, that's a good proposal. Rescheduling of our debts, rearrangement of loan payment terms, and probably freezing them. You agree?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Daniel, the man himself of Shakespeare.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Masanga. You know, what people should know is that we have an African saying that says that you cannot pickpocket a naked man. You know, we as Africans, we are really feeling the economic heat of COVID-19. We don't even have enough to feed ourselves or to dress ourselves. So China should not be expecting much from us. And I think I tend to agree with you and Mpambe that we need to go back to the negotiation table and really look at these loans. Which ones should we give priority? And how much are we going to pay for these ones? And under what terms and conditions? And which loans should we maybe in good faith write off so that we still maintain some goodwill between us and China, but saying that we have to pay everything back as to the previous agreements and conditions, then that I think it's no mean feat. It will be something that won't materialize in the fullness of time. So my key point is that we need to go back to the negotiation table with China. They have to understand that the same problems they are facing in their country, although their economy is well off than ours, are the same problems that we are facing here back in Kenya. But now in our case, the heavy hand of destiny is upon us, and we are facing them a bit bitterly than them. So they have to reconsider that.
When Emperor Nero banned the city of Rome, did he have regrets? Any of you who has read the last emperor, Emperor Nero, destroyed Rome, banned it. Did he have regrets? No. Chinese have no regrets. They gave you their money. So far here is program, and in the future we must produce a solution for the government and for the governments in Africa. We must produce a solution, whether diplomatic solution or forceful solution. Hakuna kubembelejewa. We are not going to bembelesha. Tuko na situation. Even an auctioneer will understand that you can't take my slippers. They are the only one left for me to use to go in the ice or snow. Hakuna kubembelesha wa China. We have to come on hard diplomacy on table. You failed to tame the disease. You exported it to us. It killed us. It killed our economy. So help us, God. Hakuna kubembeleshwa. Because any government in Africa bembelesha in China, you will have a regime change in the streets. I swear, I'm telling you. You must be hard on them. China should call a conference again. Do we tell them, sorry, give us 30 years to pay? Because it will take a long time for that train to Mombasa to fill. A quick sampling on the panel now seated. How many of you, as soon as the train opens, who will go to Mombasa? Just say it.
Locally, I'll be the first one to go. Locally, I can travel. Internationally, I have to wait.
Okay.
No, don't say you can go to Mombasa.
Yes.
In this train.
I think, Doc, it's gonna take some. It's gonna take some time.
Look here, gentlemen. Have conscience. Don't lie. Don't lie for the sake of cameras. You can go to Mombasa. How will you climb that plane, that train there? First, you will have to you carry your suka, bed sheet from your house and put it down on the chair. Then you cover it. Some people are going to do that.
They'll sanitize them, I believe. They have to sanitize.
Miriam,
a lot.
Doctor, we are trying to attract more tourists in the country, so we cannot say that. We'll need the tourists to use it.
I am not saying that, but I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, they will
we
sanitize.
need to find a way to remove that stigma.
Yes.
Of tourists not carrying their shukas from America. That when you sit on this plane, I asked you a very quick question. How will the people in the train serve us with beer or Coca or Fanta? Anakuletea sahani. How is he going to handle that plate? These are the things that are delaying the opening of the airline.
Yes, and of course, Doc, I think you're raising a very, very valid point there, because, in any kind of business, consumer behavior is a very, very key basis to base on. Yes.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. The consumer behavior is going to determine our resurrection. Less than that, man, we also studied economics. Less than not David in this voodoo, well, economy, voodoo. Consumer confidence. How do you buy it back in the hotels? That the people will fly and eat food in your hotel, in your gym, in your fitness apartment, in your swimming pool. How will you say people are going to come and jump in that water like that? With all these things coming that it could be there. It's a scare. It has scared the people. Therefore, we must find a formula in our next Wednesday show of Africa business and label it an African strategy for tackling the post-COVID business affairs. How do we pay China? And if China, you come badly on us, we shall be bad also. Because we don't have the money. A hungry man is worse. If you are hungry, then an angry man comes, you could kill each other. Because China will need this money. It must come slowly. And the persuaders don't come with those things to Kung Fu style or this. No, you can have it. You have seen this happening elsewhere in Africa. In Southern Africa, in Zambia, you saw the type of language that was used. Have you seen that clip of Zambian official closing a Chinese shop? Did you see that clip?
I saw it.
How many people saw that clip? A hair cutting shop. China has come to Africa to cut hair.
No.
They can't cut hair with us, but they have to open their own hair cutting shop. These are some of the things that you people in Kenya, we must be prepared. You see, this is one thing as we end this show to give media time for her show on diaspora dispatches. In Africa, Idi Amin found a fury. I want to conclude by telling you in Africa business, Field Marshal Idi Amin found a fury. You can't milk the cow, take the what is that thing where they milk the thing, ladder, is it, what, adder, is it called what? Adder.
Adder, yeah.
You milk the cow, cut the adder, eat it. That's what Indians were doing in
Uganda.
In Uganda. The Indians in Uganda were having the economy, but the money was not banked in Uganda. They had everything. Idi Amin woke up and said he dreamed and saw Indians milking the cow and cutting the adder. So Mr. Idi Amin finally did one message. Moja. He said he has given them 72 days to leave the country. Today, if you go in the corners of Europe, if you go in the corners of United Kingdom, Uganda is one country that has more Ugandans in the United Kingdom than any African country. You know why? The Asians were Ugandans. But look at what they have done, a miracle in Britain. They are the most richest people in Britain. So even COVID-19 will produce some miracles. And therefore, as Punchline Africa TV, in conclusion, we must produce a formula, a business formula, to help the government of the Republic of Kenya and to help our governments all over Africa. What will they do to Chinese when they come for their money? What will happen? Because the other person, there's a saying which Songa likes so much, that when they came for the, what is that? They came for this one, you said, you are okay. Then they came for another one, they said, you are okay. Then lastly, they came for you.
For you, yes, sir.
It's like when you are crossing the river and you see a crocodile eating your people, you laugh. But mark you, after it has finished, with all the people. Who next? Because he still wants to eat. The crocodiles never get tired. Have you ever seen a crocodile that stopped Raila Odinga to cross to Canaan ever get tired?
No.
Go and touch the crocodile's, catch the crocodile tail. When it has just eaten 5 human beings, it will swing crocodiles. The metabolic system of the crocodile moves food very quickly. Human being even, part of the problems why you cannot find a human being quickly if the crocodile has come closer to it. Did you know that crocodiles don't eat dead bodies? Hello? Am I straighting you?
No, it doesn't really. It looks for
crocodiles don't eat dead bodies. Crocodiles eat their own man they have caught. Like Patrick Pande, when he goes near a river, inataka yenyewe fresh blood. Not a person who has been killed. That's why when you find dead bodies being brought out of river, at the river, you have seen they are intact. Because the crocodile will not eat it. It didn't kill you. Do not touch you. You have learned something new this morning?
Absolutely.
You didn't know that. I passed biology by accident. In 1974, on my East African Certificate of Education, I was shocked when the results came. David Matanga has passed biology. Hey, oh mama, I couldn't believe it. That's how I knew that a crocodile never kills, never eats a dead body. It only eats a man who is still making noise in the water. You notice that? Then it kills you. But not thrown there with a stone tied on. It will not touch you. I passed biology in 1974, O levels. The school is well known with the East African Certificate of Education, not Uganda Certificate of Education. Thank you. We are the last men standing before Idi Amin dismantled the East African community. May God bless us. We hand you over to the African News Medium. Enjoy the show. I am on standby. I will be here listening to your show. I am here. I can answer questions. Any questions? The next week, let's do an e-economy, e-conference economy. This one will also teach. We are now going to develop that method of teaching students. We are going to kill several birds with one stone. We shall be promoting the television. We shall be promoting, giving ideas to the government, at the same time educating the students at home who are not able to do the exam in Nairobi University. Some of these things we are talking come in the examination papers. For example, don't be shocked that they will set a question, how will Kenya pay China given the presence of COVID-19? That's a question that can make you sweat. The clothes, the inside, the inner one, and the outer one. while you are seated on the examination paper. And the time is ticking. So listen to Matsanga. And the Punchline Africa Television all the way from Nairobi, Miriam Ogutu. Back to you. That is the way to do it. I thank you very much, all of you. Africa business we mean business. If China, you come wrongly without touching us properly, we shall do it wrongly. If you behave abnormally, the disease can behave abnormally. Who is that? Who is the minister? Because COVID-19 can behave abnormally.
That is Mutahi Kagwe.
Yeah, the honorable minister did something which is making trending. If you behave abnormally, the disease also behaves abnormally. And don't misunderstand me. If China behaves abnormally, we shall also behave abnormally. No African is going to pay you, Mr. China. We did not bring the disease. You actually brought it. So if you behave nicely, we can talk. Lakini ukanakuja, if you come abnormally, we can become abnormal also. The time of colonization went. Give us time to arrange this. This thing is not working. This thing is not working. If in 1 week, trucks could pack from Malaba up to Eldoret, Jesus Christ. You know the distance between Malaba and Eldoret? That is the type of confusion that Africa is going to have. Think about it. Lady and gentlemen, bring out papers. I would like you to have your paper, each of you. Write your own paper. And I'll do the marking on Monday before we go on Wednesday.
Right.
I want you to write for me reasons. Yeah, I am now teaching students here. I want you to write for me reasons as to why we should pay China.
No, we shouldn't. Why are we paying China?
Now put up your essay. Send it to me. I am a researcher. I don't want a war where Chinese do kung fu on our president. Woo, woo, woo. We are done.
They can do kung fu on the next president. I think President Kenyatta might survive this one. If they want, they can do kung fu on the next Kenya's president. But
who is even the next one? We must protect him.
Well, we don't know that yet. So let's wait and God.
Whoever will be there.
Yes.
We must protect Kenya. We must protect Africa.
And the interest of
Miriam, you have brought one good thing to that as you end.
Yes.
We might not pay. Write me a paper. The reasons why we are not paying. Or if you are good at sugarcoating things like a professor, friend of mine, quote them and said China must be brought and given one teeth to, and then another cheek to feed. They have beaten us here, beat another one here. Kuna pesa. Kuna pesa.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kuna pesa. Kuna pesa. To pay or not to pay. Have you seen that program?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much, viewers. There are so many viewers, but there you are. I saw some official from the Ministry of Tourism, who is the public relations officer. She is watching. Thank you very much, madam, for watching. I hope you pass that message to your Minister of Tourism and tell her that you must rebrand. Hiyo buffet mwenye mlikuwa mnatupatianga, unakula buffet from 200 years. Toa buffet. Then the money is there now. Change the branding. We might go to Russia to look for tourists. We must give concessions. 1 week sleep free, 1 week pay us. That's how we are going to do it. And unfortunately, Makanga, Mr. Mpane Makanga, African, and Daniel and Miriam, my time is over.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. We are way behind time, but maybe you can join in on the African news. But right now, we are going to take a short break, and then we shall come back with another link for Diaspora Dispatches. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the other side of the break.